Okay, afternoon guys. Steve again here. Ollie's having a break. And today we're going to be looking at the alternatives, equivalents and grouped items in Prima. So what does it mean? Where does it exist in the system? And what are your options basically? Some of it can get quite complex. So really today's session's about telling you what Prima can do in terms of those things and some new bits that we've got coming in the system to help you manage those products and hopefully sell more through the system. Okay, so I'll just jump straight into Prima. Okay, so I've got a few tabs open at the top, and we'll be covering these as we go around the three areas that we want to speak about. So I just want to start by explaining really what Prima defines as alternatives, equivalents and grouped items. There's a bit of confusion, I think, certainly from my experience in the customer base, of people not actually understanding 100% what they mean when they're trying to set them up in the system, or when they're explaining or trying to explain them to the support team, for example. So the three options are alternatives. So classic example in the alternatives would be a Q Connect versus a 5-star item. What we're looking at in the database in terms of the catalog and product data, it's not the same product, but it might have the exact same function, but the brand might be different. Okay, so the other options that you have there in terms of alternatives, it might be the standard code and then a cheaper version of that product, or a more expensive version of that product. Okay, so it's really looking about something that's a similar product to what you've currently entered into the system or searched for in the system, but it's not the same item. Okay, that leads us on to the equivalent items. So if I just go into, I think I've got the catalog open here. Got my spices catalog open here. So I take this code, for example. I've got a 3M product here. This would be a case whereby you would have what we call as an equivalent. So an equivalent defined by Prima is basically Vow, Spices, Advent and Talis all supply, or can all supply, the same item, but it's available in each of their catalogs under a different reference, and that's what we define in the system as an equivalent. Okay, so equivalents really are specific to the catalog data, and that's handled by Prima. So it may be the case in time that you see things and you think they shouldn't be linked, and that would be your prerogative there to contact the support team basically and tell us that something might be incorrectly linked, and then we can feed that back to the data guys. Okay, so it's really, if I open this item, this is I think it's got an example in here. So if I go into this 3M item, I know this 3M item is available from multiple suppliers under the Spices catalog. It's 217829. In my equivalents, I can get the same item, the exact same item, albeit at different prices, from Vow under this code and from Advent under this code. Okay, what we're seeing is more and more data files coming into the system, and that equivalent work is obviously going on in the background to continue with that matching. So you can't change that as such, but that's what you see when you go into your requirements screen and it says you can get this item from this supplier instead under this code. That's the equivalent data that Prima prepares and supplies. and some of it comes from the Fusion Plus data as well. Okay, so there's not really anything to see as such in the equivalent side of things. You'll have seen it in your requirements. It's available to see in here if you're looking at the catalog data, but it's just available, if you like, when you go through to the buying and from the sales order. Okay, the bit that you can kind of affect in Prima and define what products you want to link is the alternatives and the grouped items. So I'll start with the alternatives, and then we can have a look at the different options that you've got within the alternatives, and then we'll move on to the grouped items. Okay. So as I said before, alternative items it's something that's got a similar function, but it's not actually the same item. So it can't be classed as an equivalent. So I had, let's see if I've got it still open. So I've got, if I just go back into the product record for this code, 297013 classic Spicer Punch Pockets code. And whenever you're in the stock products area and you're within a product record itself, if you want to see what this linkage that you've currently got set up in terms of groups and alternatives, then that would be in this tab, Super Sessions, Alternatives and Groups. Okay, so there's two sections relating to all alternatives and groups. The top one is your alternatives and the bottom one is your grouped items. Okay, so as you can see in here, there's a number of alternatives that are linked to this particular item. And what you'll see down the right hand side is a type. Okay. Now the type is important because there's various ways that you can set up in alternatives in the system. Okay. Now you guys won't see this supplier C&P just yet because we're running the latest version here, and this is something that's coming in new. Basically what it is, the guys at Fusion Plus have got an updated and regularly managed feed of alternatives. So that's going to be, and is, as you can see here, incorporated into the database, and all the customers subscribing to those files, vows, spices, potentially Antalis as well, there will be an enhanced list of alternatives which will regularly be updated. Okay, so the supplier C and P that you can see on there basically just means that it's in your product record list, or it's in the supplier catalog list, and it's not yet been created as a stock code. Okay, so that's going to help immensely for you guys managing it. In the past, we've had kind of old lists that we've managed to get from the suppliers, but it's only as good as the time that we can get it, and sometimes it wasn't readily available. But this Fusion thing is a regular feed, so it'll be kept updated. And for the most part, it should suffice for you guys managing your alternatives if you need to switch items. But on top of that, you've got the ability to add your own in. Okay, so at the bottom here, you'll see some that say optional alternatives. So there's 3 different types that you can set up manually in Prima of alternatives. Okay, the first one is optional, and that would be if I enter 297013 onto an order or quote, I want the option to switch it to whatever I choose the code to be in the list here. Okay, so that's optional, very straightforward, and that's what a lot of our customers have got set up. The second option is conditional alternatives, and conditional is basically customer specific. So within a customer record, you would set in the product and pricing area, and I'll show you this in a second. There's an area where you can say a list of allowed alternatives, And if that customer's set to be allowed to have that switched, then the conditional alternative is actioned basically, and that will appear in that will perform the switch to the product when they enter 297013. And then the final one is what we call system alternative. So if the flag in the product and pricing against that customer is ticked to allow system alternatives, what that means is any system alternatives that appear in the system, when the code is added to the order, if there's a system alternative against it, it will automatically switch to that item. So it's not customer specific, it's just any product that's marked as a system alternative. Okay, I'd say the last two are used, that's conditional and system, are used less frequently than the optional alternatives, but I'll just show you where you can set those up. Okay, so if I just come down here for a second, go back into Prima. Okay, so I'm just going to load a company record now. So I'll just take any of these companies. I'll just go into the product and pricing area. Okay. So you got two options here. So this box here where it says add alternative product or remove alternative product, what would go in here would be your conditional alternatives. Okay, so it's specific to this customer. If this customer orders KF24001, I'm going to supply them with 297013, and it's customer specific. Okay, so you basically define the switch, if you like, for this particular customer. For the system alternatives, whereby if anyone in the database orders 297013, I want to supply KF24001, that will be affected on a customer account if they've got this option ticked. Okay, so that's what we call the system alternatives. And I've seen it being used a few times. I wouldn't say it's too common. Like I say, the optional ones are by far the most common, just giving the person at the point of sale the opportunity to change that. Okay, so for this customer, as an example, if I go into here and put a sales order on, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to enter that 297013 code. And wherever alternatives are available, you can switch it at the point of sale in terms of the quotation or the sales order, and going further than that, on if you use Prima's web store, they will show on the Prima web store as well. And then the other opportunity you've got to switch would be in the requirements or purchasing stage. If you moved through, done a stock check, for example, and there was a similar item that you wanted to purchase because the one that they put on the order wasn't in stock, then you could switch it at that point. So if there are alternatives available, this button will become live. So you may or may not have seen it, but you just click on the button and it will give you the list of alternatives that you can switch to. Okay, so it's pretty quick to do. You just click on the button, choose the option. It will reload the line with the code that you've switched to, and then you can save that line to the order. Okay. If you've already raised the order, but you still want to switch it, you can go into the line detail, so double click through to the line, and then you've got a tab at the bottom for your alternatives. Okay. So when you see it in the line info, what it's relating to here is basically your margin. The color scheme is related to the margin. So if you want to update the colors relating to the margin, you can just click on the grid colors there, and it'll just basically say if I switch it to this one, what will it do to the margin? Will it make it better, or will it be worse? By default, you can obviously change the price when you've loaded the item. Okay, so that's your alternatives. We've got detailed instructions on the help site, and if you are going to go about setting them up, such as the conditional and the system, have a look through the instruction notes, and you can give us a shout, obviously, if you get stuck. I think with this, I honestly think with the new Fusion data stuff coming through, there will be less and less of a requirement for you guys to go in and manage it. What I wanted to do today, obviously, is just basically show you what's happening in the system. Okay, so just moving through, I just wanted to show you the grouped items on the system. So what we define as grouped items in Prima, like I said before, are items that give you an opportunity to upsell. So you buy a product, for example 297013, and then you would need, as we've got here, some lever arch files that will be complementary to that product. So there's an opportunity to upsell through Prima, and these again can be added manually. If you want to add to the actual list of them, you can put stuff in here yourself. You guys will see as part of the data feed as well, like a list of grouped items against products. Most of them from the kind of spices val files will have something already in here. But if you've got any of your own codes and you want to continue with this upselling opportunity, then you can certainly come in here and just add the grouped items that you wish. So it's very straightforward to do. All you would do is put in a new item in here. And I can search for a code. And if I save it in here, you just choose your pack size, because you might sell it as a split or a box. And when you save that will add as an alternative item onto this list. Okay, a grouped item, sorry, onto this list. And basically what this allows you to do is, through the quote, through the order, and again through the web store, is your customers will see it. If they're regular web store users, they will see it online as a gallery. And if your sales team are placing orders or quotes through Prima itself, then they will see it in there as well. So I'll just show you how it works. So if I just go on to, it's got a web store open here. So this is code 297013 from the same database. I've just had it open there, and at the bottom, that list of grouped items will show, and your customer is obviously seeing straight away an opportunity to get something that would be related to this product. You can change that label through the control panel if you want to. The people who bought this also bought. Some people call it complementary products. Do you need these as well? Whatever it would be for you guys. Okay, so that's how the customer would see it on the front end, the very front end, if you like, on the web store. On your Prima side, if I go back to this sales order, and I put that code in 297013 and search for it, I get that list as a list of additional items here. Okay. So as you're speaking to the customer on the phone, you can say, I'll have one of those, one of those, one of those, and you can choose to move them across. And then when you click add items, you build your basket, and you've now got 4 lines on the order where they originally just wanted 1. And it's just a quick thing as you're speaking to the customer anyway on the phone. Oh, did you know we've also got these? Do you know we can help with these? Just a very quick way of seeing what's available to go with that product and adding them to the order. Now you might think that the stuff that comes with the data in terms of the additional items is not relevant, or you don't want that, or you want to supply something else. And like you saw, you can just go into the product, take stuff away that you don't like in there, and add new grouped items if you feel it's required. So really, really good opportunity to kind of upsell through Prima. It's very quick to do, and certainly around your kind of frequently sold lines. If your salespeople are having that conversation with the customer anyway, or you've got Prima's web store, then it's a fantastic opportunity to just ask that question, or on the web show the customers what else you do that would help in that sales situation. So I believe as part of the new kind of alternatives update, the grouped item stuff's going to be enhanced as well. I'm not 100% certain on that, but I believe that's the case. And it's really I just wanted to show today. It's a pretty quick one, really. I just wanted to show today what Prima can do on that side of things. And like I say, if you need to set them up, log on to the help, get the notes, have a go. And if you get stuck, then by all means give us a shout, and we'll help out. But certainly from the grouped items side of things, I think it's a fantastic and certainly underused tool in the system. So yeah, please use and give us some feedback. What we'll be doing, as always, we'll be hanging around for a few minutes if you guys have got any questions, and hopefully we can answer those pretty swiftly. And the video, as ever, will be populated to the YouTube channel in a few minutes if anyone needs to pick it up again. So just a quick one today, but thanks for your time, and I'll see you next week. Okay, cheers.